Welcome to today's Java Break with Basis. Today's subject is backing up your BBX data to the cloud in a heartbeat. Before we get started, I want to assure all the Pro5, Visual Pro5, and BBJ developers out there that this session does indeed apply to you. You can do data replication and you can indeed back it up to the cloud, and we'll touch on how that is made possible. As part of today's presentation, we'll do a very quick overview of what data replication is all about, and then we'll show you how to use the Basis Amazon Machine Image, or AMI, to create a cloud machine, show you how to load the Basis license and your data, rsyncing that data to the cloud machine, how to set up data replication. At the end, we'll wrap it up with a summary of what this process does for you in terms of benefits, and of course we'll take your questions and provide you with answers. First of all, what is the Basis AMI? Again, the AMI stands for Amazon Machine Image, and the Basis AMI is a pre-configured Basis machine running in the Amazon cloud. Amazon brings to you the benefits of the cloud with unlimited power in both the data center and the backup power. So if something happens to the primary, they have a secondary. They have almost unlimited hardware, nearly unlimited disk space, and it will certainly feel like unlimited bandwidth compared to any other bandwidth that we have experienced in our lives. They've got unlimited scalability, and though capacity is not truly unlimited, I would venture that you could never outrun the capacity of the Amazon cloud system. They've got more security than exists around our office or any of our customers' offices. They describe it as end-to-end security and end-to-end privacy. All of this gives you flexibility. Before we get too far into today's presentation, if you're looking for additional details on Basis's use of Amazon Cloud and how we set up that Basis AMI, I would encourage you to check out a previous Java Break, Transform Your BBX Cloud Deployments. First of all, as far as implementing data replication, there is no data conversion required in order to get it going. Whether you're running on Pro5, Visual Pro5, or BBJ, and want to implement replication, and that requires you to run on the Basis database under BBJ's control, you do not have to convert any of your data. If you're on Visual Pro5, you'll switch from the Pro5 data server to the BBJ Pro5 data server. If you're on Pro5, you'll need to install BBJ on the server and implement data server syntax in your config.bbx or in your actual code. If you're already using and on BBJ, there's nothing for you to do. Replication is available and can be configured through the Enterprise Manager. Let's take a look at how this would work. In the Visual Pro5 world, on your database server, where you currently have your Pro5 data server residing, you would install BBJ and change your port numbers to point to the BBJ database management system. The rest of your structure remains the same. All of your clients continue to run Visual Pro5 and would simply hook into the Basis database management system via the BBJ Pro5 data server. In the Pro5 world, here we are showing the dumb terminals or terminal emulation, perhaps over a wide area network, and we would swap out our Pro5 database with the Basis DBMS on the same server that the Pro5 interpreters are running. We also have the ability to run BBJ on that server. For more details about enabling data replication for Pro5, Visual Pro5, and BBJ, I'd refer you to a Java break that we have posted to our web of that name. First of all, replication will provide you with live, up-to-the-minute backup of your programs, data, and other files from your source system. The steps required to set up replication include creating the volume, that's where your data will go. Then you will launch the Basis Transformer AMI. You will mount that drive onto the cloud machine, rsync your data to the cloud, or push your data to the cloud. That's just a one-time operation. We'll create replication and start that replication job, and there you have it. There are just these few steps to deliver the powerful replication feature that you can present to your clients. Step one is setting up your Amazon account. It's quite simple. Go to aws.com, Amazon Web Services, and if you don't have an account with them, you quickly enter your email, fill out a standard information form, enter your payment information, They do a telephone identity verification. That's it. Once you have that Amazon account, you would log into Amazon AWS. And here we go, we're logging in, and this is a video of us launching the Basis AMI after you do your sign-in. Remembering that this is not a tutorial, we'll move right through this process of launching the AMI. Top right corner, we select the AWS Management Console. We enter our email address. From the Services drop-down, we select EC2. We ensure that we're in the right zone, region of the country. I have Northern California in this case selected. We're going to view all images that are available for us. We're going to do a search using the keyword transformer in this case. Here's our list of images. We're going to select the correct image, which is in our documentation. Right-click on that, select Launch Instance. We've got the instance type, which is the machine size. We're going to go with the default, select Continue. For our user data, I'm just going to put in as text. You can also do it as a file. Just putting in some holder pieces here. It says Paul's Test. We select Continue. Existing key pairs. Here's the firewall configuration. Having done those settings, we click Launch. We close out the confirmation window, and now where you see that spinning, it is starting my machine. I'm going to name my machine. It's named Paul's, and I'm going to save it. And that machine is starting up with the Basis AMI on it. I'm going to go to the bottom down here. I'm going to select the URL, and I'm ready to go. So now we've got our Basis AMI machine up and running. Let's start with the elements of your cloud replication process. In something that we will call My Cloud Drive, you will place copies of your data, applications, and scripts, and you will load your Basis license with sufficient user count for inquiries. Once in the cloud, all you need to do is mount it to a machine that does the database work. Your data is on that drive, and that you can mount that drive onto any instance in the cloud. Basis has gone ahead with the Basis AMI with providing you with a pre-configured Amazon machine image upon which you can mount that drive. One of the most important early steps is to move your data from the ground to the cloud. And as we mentioned, that list of data, applications, configuration, the licenses, all should be stored on a persistent volume in the cloud so that no matter which instance you decide to launch, you can mount your data to it and feel right at home. Amazon's elastic compute cloud is particularly ethereal, consisting of virtual machines, the contents of which will disappear when that machine is turned off. Due to this characteristic, anything you want to store up in the cloud must be kept on a persistent volume. What's more is that in some cases, such as in 3-tier configurations, the configuration is propagated from one machine to another. Rsyncing your data is a one-time task that effectively moves your data from your ground machine up to the cloud. Cloud or virtual machine licensing facilitates running a license on virtualization software such as VMware, Xen, or Amazon Cloud, or as a single license if your host ID changes every day. This license expires and renews automatically every 24 hours, so that changing host IDs will not interrupt the production or development process. The virtual Basis license is available on new as well as old versions of Basis products and require, first of all, that BBJ be in a version 10 or higher, that it is the Enterprise Edition, and that you have an active SAM, or Software Asset Management subscription. So after you've prepared your persistent volume, you're going to launch an instance of the Basis Transformer AMI, and your volume will automatically attach to it. You would partition and format your volume using standard Linux commands, and I would recommend the ext3 file system, and then you reboot your instance. Now we're to the rsync step. Using a program such as WinSCP, which is available on Windows, or rsync, available on Linux, you're going to use those to copy your files up to the mounted drive. Another option for moving large amounts of data files into the Amazon cloud is using the AWS Import-Export service. The next step would be to change the config to point to these files, and then you'd adjust the permissions on your files so that they're readable and writable to the group of users. When using the user command in user data, the Transformer API will add your user to the user's user group. This will allow your user to access files as needed. The last step is to configure your replication job, and you're going to connect to the source machine in Enterprise Manager. Jeff will take us a walk through the process, and what he's showing you is what's going on inside Enterprise Manager to set up and execute replication. Jeff is going to take a few moments and walk us through the process. Jeff?
Creating replication jobs in BBJ is really quite easy. All you need to do is log into the Enterprise Manager, click on the replication node here, click on the Add button, and now we're creating a job. We give you a nice handy wizard here to help you create the job. Our first example here, we're going to look at a directory or file replication where we're going to replicate a simple directory of BBJ or BBX data files. The first thing we need to do is give it a name, and then we need to specify the host of the machine that we're going to replicate to. In this first example, we're going to just replicate to the same computer that we're on now, but you'd put the host name in this box here if it was a different machine. The port is the port that the file system server is running on, and it defaults to port 2000. Then we need to give a username and password that will be used for authentication when it connects to do the replication. If we were using SSL, we would want to put a checkbox here. We are not using that here, so we'll go ahead and leave that unchecked. Or if we were using advisory locking to access those data files, we would need to put a check in the advisory locking checkbox. But what we need to do now is go and select the directory that we want to replicate. And so we're going to use the Chili database in the program files directory under basis. We're going to select the data directory. Those are the only files we're interested in. And as you can see, it'll add that to the list here, and it'll give you a target. This is on the target machine, in this case the same machine, the location that we want those data files to be replicated to. Under the excluded tab, we can add specific files that we do not want to be included in the replication job. So let's say we don't want to include the dmgg.dat file, so we will add that here. Now anything in this list here will be excluded from the replication job. All that's left to do now is click the next button that creates the job for us. We hit finish, and now our job is running, and we can see that here in the replication jobs list. It tells us if the job is currently running. We can pause a job if we want to stop replicating to the destination for a period of time, and then it will tell us that no, it is not running. When we want to resume that job, click it and click the resume button, and the job resumes its replication. What you'll see here in this list is the job that's being done on the source machine and the list of files or directories. In this case, we're replicating a directory, so list the directory that is being replicated. This item here is telling us that this machine is being used as a replication target. If we were on another machine, which you'll see here shortly, then you would see this information, the target information, on the target machine, and you would only see the source information on the source machine. So it's that simple to get a job going, running. Any changes that are made to any of those files in that directory, or if files are added to that directory or removed, that same operation will happen on the target machine as well.
So here's a schematic showing what we've set up. First, there's your ground machine with all of your data, and we've created an Amazon machine image of whatever size and speed you choose using the basis AMI, which is now ready and waiting for your data, application, and licenses. And we get that process up there using the rsync process. We then set up data replication to run and keep your Amazon machine up to date. Periodically, and this is the part we haven't touched on yet, we can run data backups using a software called Duplicity. Duplicity is already a part of the Basis AMI, so there's no additional complexity or cost there. And Duplicity is used to run a backup copy of your data, which is then stored in Amazon in what they call S3 storage. You can elect to have multiple S3s for your data depending on what your backup protocol is. Back in the days of running tape backups, we here at Basis would run a nightly backup by department and then a server backup done weekly, and we would keep a weekly copy offsite. Additionally, we would periodically take a snapshot of our business accounting and keep those copies offsite, and we would actually keep those for several years. So there are lots of backup protocols, and most all of your current protocols can be incorporated into this model. Pretty slick. So what does it cost? What we would be considering is the Basis licenses, the cost of the Amazon machine or machines, the cost of Duplicity software, and Duplicity again is responsible for creating the data snapshot, whatever Amazon is going to charge us for data transfer fees, and then the cost of the destination of the backup, which is S3 in Amazon's terminology. Well, on the Basis front, you need to have an enterprise edition of BBJ 10 or higher and be active on SAM. And you need a number of users that's equivalent to the number of people who will be querying that machine. On the Amazon side, first of all, they do have a free tier, no-cost tier, that can run 750 hours on what they call a micro instance, and those hours are calculated per month. What we would recommend and what we have a lot of experience running is what they call a medium-high CPU on-demand instance. And again, we can drop into the details on that in another session, and we certainly have resources that will address that in detail. If you use the current Amazon pricing for an on-demand instance in the U.S. East region, which is Northern Virginia, and a pretty robust machine, that's what I'm referring to when I talk about the medium-high CPU, we're taking a look at what the hourly pricing is for a Linux machine. Linux, you say? Well, I've got Windows. Well, don't forget that Basis's platform flexibility means that you can run on the less expensive machine, Linux in this case, for your backups, even though your ground systems might be running on Windows or some other OS. So, in round numbers, they're charging 17 cents an hour to run this robust machine. We can extrapolate that so that if you're running it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that would equate to about $122 a month. If you are doing a shorter run, your machine is running more or less around business hours, say 60 hours a week, that Linux machine in the cloud from Amazon would cost approximately $40 a month. So what about data transfer? When you're moving your data up to the Amazon machine, what does that cost? Well, Amazon's nice about that. There is no cost associated with that activity at all. What about the backups? And remember, this backups is doing a full backup or an incremental backup of your data, and there's no downtime. There's no need to kick your users off the system for a period of hours to make this thing happen. Well, if we were doing a nightly incremental backup of, say, 10 gigs and a weekly full backup of 500 gigs, the cost of Duplicity software, which we've built into the Basis AMI that you're running the machine on, has no cost associated with it. And that Duplicity software compresses the data, be it the 10 gigs or the 500 gigs, and then it transfers that data over to the S3 data storage area. That data transfer has no cost. And what does the data storage area cost? If you were to run that full 500 gigabytes across there with compression, it would be less than $50 a month. A few more details on Amazon's S3 data storage is that Amazon auto stores your data in multiple facilities on multiple devices in each of those facilities, thereby keeping your data secure. S3 is also designed to withstand the loss of 2 concurrent facilities. That $50 a month, which we stated was a maximum in our model, can be reduced substantially by up to 90% if you opt for what they term glacier storage in your S3 selection. Glacier storage is for data that you don't need immediate access to, and it might be just the right idea for something when you're doing annual backups. yearly backups that you don't need immediate access back to. So, in a recap, our Amazon machine running 24/7 is approximately $122 a month. There's no cost for data transfer. There's no cost for the replication feature as provided by Basis. The backup feature, there's no data transfer cost. There's no software duplicity cost. And the S3 storage is less than $50 a month. So in total, $172 a month for all this functionality and security. So what am I getting with the Basis AMI, this cloud machine? The current version of the operating system, of Java, of BBJ, of Barista, of the ERP building blocks from Basis, current version of browsers with their security patches and backup software. All in one shot, no maintenance required from your end. What does database and file replication give you? It provides the ultimate in disaster recovery. You can create a live database backup without having to bring down the server or impact the users. And this is a stateful backup with users on the system. You can also create a read-only database copy if you're an organization or you have customers that use power-hungry queries or reporting. You can actually run those queries and reports against this read-only database copy. Basis has made it easy with the Transformer AMI to start a pre-configured machine with the latest software and operating system. Amazon made it cheap by charging just a few cents an hour, and there's no commitment longer than an hour. Their smallest instances are available either free or for only pennies. You can pick your region or regions to run in. So let's review what it took to get started. We created an Amazon account that took less than 5 minutes and cost us nothing. We used the Basis AMI to create and start a cloud machine. We populated My Drive with your data and your Basis user license. We launched the Basis Transformer instance. We mounted the My Drive data to that instance, and we set up data replication. We've got a lot of resources for you to consider. Here's a document that looks at replication jobs and executing them through Enterprise Manager. We've got an introduction to replication document, and then we have the Transformer AMI document itself. We've got loads of resources in a video format as well, and they are available from our Java Break page, basis.com/JavaBreak-basis. One of them that I'd recommend is Transform Your BBX Cloud Deployments. Another would be one that's based strictly on database replication, and the one I mentioned earlier in today's session, Enabling Data Replication for you Pro5, Visual Pro5, and BBJ folks. Need additional help? I'd have you consider Basis Professional Services. Our experience is certainly your benefit. We've been there, and we run almost exclusively in the cloud, so I'd have you consider Basis International as a good resource. So in summary, what have we covered today? We looked briefly at how easy it is to set up your Amazon account. We showed you how to use the Basis AMI to create a cloud machine. Briefly touched on the Basis license, loading the Basis license and rsyncing the data, setting up data replication, and we touched on some of the benefits of data replication itself. Before we move to your questions, I'd have you consider upcoming Basis training, which is 3 days of Barista, March 18th, 20th, and 22nd, and this dovetails rather nicely into the Advanced Barista 2-day class that we are offering at the upcoming TechCon. So if you want to take a look at this, this is at basis.com/events, and you'll see the Basis training there in March. Speaking of TechCon, it is coming up in Las Vegas, Nevada, May 13th through the 15th, with post-conference training the 16th and the 17th. And there's a lot of information we've got posted to our web, and you've probably received invitations, and will certainly be receiving invitations from Basis to join us there in Las Vegas, May 13th through the 15th. And now, let's take your questions.